Hey folks, welcome back to the show. We have a great episode for you today. It's a solo episode. It might be a little bit longer than usual, and you'll understand why, because there's three things I'm going to talk about here, like three big bucket topics, and they're all a little bit different. One is I'm going to give you some advice on shopping Black Friday sales. This is a nutty time of the year. This is where everybody who sells anything all of a sudden is coming up with their best deals of the year. And look, I'm like the rest of them. I'm pushing this information out like everybody. And I want to give you some advice in keeping your calm and your center so that you make the right decisions for yourself now. So that's number one. Number two, I'm going to be talking about how to support your immune system at this time of year and moving into the winter. I mean, the fact of the matter is that it's the most wonderful time of the year to get fat and sick. So the last solo episode that I recorded, I talked about holiday strategies, and this was around stress management. It was around food, and, you know, all of that, and the digestion, all that kind of stuff. Today, I'm going to talk about immune support specifically. So you're going to hear some of the information back again from earlier, but there's going to be some new information. There's going to be some free lifestyle tips. And then I'm going to give you some recommendations on some of the technology and the supplements that I've come across lately that I really feel do a great job. And you can then decide what works for you. And the third thing I'm going to talk about is by the time this episode comes back, I will have been home for 2 weeks from my last trip to Sedona. And I'm going to be doing an episode on Sedona, specifically about the retreats that I attend and bring my community members to. And also the reason why, instead of spending 1 week in Sedona, I ended up spending 2 weeks in Sedona this time, which, to be fair, threw a bit of a wrench into my week coming home, but was more than worth the stress of returning home after 2 weeks away when I didn't expect to be away for 2 weeks. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, although I will eventually be doing a couple of episodes specifically on some of the modalities that we experience in Sedona specifically, and some of the practitioners who are there, who, to be honest, I mean, next level practitioners, guys. Okay, let's get started, because I do want to keep this a little tighter than my normal long form podcast. So first off, shopping Black Friday sales. It's crazy out there right now. Everybody's got their best deal of the year. Everybody's got 10 good reasons why you need to buy their product right now. And as you know, I'm sending out emails. It's being tacked on to my weekly newsletter. I've got stuff going on Instagram, just like everybody else. We're trying to make sure that you're all aware of what are the best deals that are available to you at this time of year, as we're getting closer and closer and closer to Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So my advice to you is this: make a list. Make a list of what are the problems, the most important problems that you're trying to solve right now. So what is it and create a list from 1 to 5. What's the most important problem I'm trying to solve? Is it sleep? Is it my immune system? Is it detoxification? What is it that is my burning issue right now? And make a list, maybe 1 to 5 in descending order. Then start to do your homework. If there's a lot of the products that I'm suggesting that you consider for your Black Friday purchases. I've done podcasts with almost all of these people over the last several months, let's say. So take a minute, go back to those podcasts if you happen to miss them, see if it resonates for you, see if it's the kind of thing that you think you will get the best use for. Also, don't forget that many of these products, from health tech to supplements, many of these products have money back guarantees. So make sure that you track your results, because there's no one thing that's going to hit the mark for everybody. So make sure that you track your results and that you really get a sense of, is this working for me? Now, the other flip side of that is, don't give it a day. Give it a week. Give it a month. Give yourself the time to really experience, can I make this work for me? Can I do all of the other things around it to help it to work for me? And then make your call. So make your list your priorities, figure out what are your hot button topics right now, and then you can start to shop. All right. That's your little Black Friday pep talk. We're going to, there will be, we're coming into Christmas. There will be other sales as well. So pace yourself, make a priority list, talk to your loved ones. If people are shopping for gifts for you, let them know this is what I want. I don't want maybe you don't want the $3 or the $4 or the $500 pair of boots or jacket or sweater that they think you've had your eye on. Maybe what you really want is a Kineon red light device, or maybe you really want an Apollo device. Like maybe you want some kind of tech that's going to move the needle for you. I promise you that as lovely as the fuzzy sweater is, or whatever the thing is, at least for me, I have found that I get far more joy out of getting the health tech and these devices that I know are going to bring me closer to my goals in my health and longevity than I ever will from any piece of clothing, bauble, bag, boots, whatever the case may be. So that's my piece of advice to you. Moving on, let's talk about immune support. So this is the time of year when we really launch into that time where, number one, for those of us living in the Northern Hemisphere, the days are getting shorter. It's getting colder outside. It's harder for us to get sun. Even if we do get outside in the sun, we're not getting the benefits of the vitamin D3 production because of the angle of the sun. We are still getting the benefits of watching the sun rise and the sun set if we're outside at those times. So you're still going to get those benefits in terms of circadian regulation, but it's a heck of a lot harder to get the vitamin D3 production that you need. And vitamin D3 production, we know, is central to our immune function. So before we launch into anything else, let's talk about I think there's 5, maybe there's a few more, but here are 5 free ways to support your immune system as we move into the season. Number 1 is quality sleep. So we're going to talk about supplements and tech and all the stuff in the back half of this episode. But before we do that, let's make sure that we're taking care of our sleep hygiene. Let's make sure that we're stopping food a good 2 to 3 hours before we go to bed. Let's make sure that we dim the lights in the hour or so before bedtime. Even better, if you have the ability, throw on your blue blockers or stop using overhead lights and use lamps, low-lying lamps. In my bedroom, I tend to use I have a salt lamp that I love. I have a light bulb from Swanwick that's cut out all the different blue light spectrum. There's many different tools out there for you. Also, another thing you can do is to put your phone, there's a color shift setting, at least on iPhones, that turns the backlight red. I will do that myself at night, about an hour or so before I go to bed, and it has 2 benefits for me. Number 1, it makes it a heck of a lot harder to read my screen, so I'm less inclined to be on my phone. And number 2, it completely cuts out the blue light from the phone hitting my eyes. So it makes it much easier for me to then drift off to sleep when I haven't been staring at this source of blue light, giving mixed messages to my brain. Wake up, don't wake up, wake up, don't wake up. So number 1, sleep quality is key. Keep your room dark and cool. Make sure you wind down before bed. I know that there will be cocktail parties. There will be events that you're not used to going to. So there will be nights where you may or may not have full control over your sleep. But all those other nights, don't make the couple of bad nights basically throw you off your whole schedule. Go back to your schedule every night that you can control. Okay. So number 1, quality sleep, because we know that poor quality sleep basically suppresses our immunity. So it makes it harder for our immune system to do what it needs to do. Not to mention the fact that if you have a bad night of sleep, the next day, you're going to be craving carbs. We know this because your brain is looking for energy. And when we're craving carbs, we have a much higher chance of consuming excess sugar. And excess sugar is our second strategy here. It's the second thing we need to watch out for when we are, when we're trying to support our immune system, because excess sugar consumption is a killer for the immune system, right? So and it's that time of year where there's baked goods around, there's candies, there's all kinds of yummy, delicious, lovely things. Do your best. Do your best to, number 1, keep that stuff out of the house so it's not available when you go down to the kitchen looking for a snack in the afternoon. If you go down to the kitchen looking for a snack in the afternoon, Lean into some of the other products that we've talked about in the past. Have like a mushroom breakthrough shake by BiOptimizers, which is fantastic. It's a little bit sweet. It's rich. It's delicious. It comes in some delicious flavors, and it's going to give you the support that you need and the energy to overcome that sugar craving. But I said I wasn't going to talk about any supplements till later. So sorry, that's a supplement. Bottom line, do your best to eliminate and or reduce sugar at this time, because it will have a massive negative impact on your immune system. Number 3, you're not going to love me for this. Those of you who are still very attached to your bottle of wine and your cocktails, limit alcohol. Alcohol is another one that is multifactorial in terms of its negative impact on the immune system. Number 1, it increases the load on your liver, and your liver does contribute to immune system. Number 2, makes it way harder for you to sleep. We just talked about the fact that poor sleep stresses your immune system and makes you less resilient to whatever bugs are flying around. And plus, we're spending more time in close quarters with other people, enhances our chances of getting sick, right? And the other thing about alcohol is, of course, it increases our sugar intake, because for the most part, unless you're drinking like vodka or tequila or something with just water and lime, you're massively increasing your intake of sugar. And that in and of itself is a problem for our immune system. Okay. So that was 3. So number 1, number 1 was sleep. Number 2 was limit alcohol. Number 2 was sugar. Number 3 was limit alcohol. Number 4 is exercise. Do not give up on your exercise, people. This is not the time to fall off the wagon. Yes, you may miss a workout here and there because you had a late night the night before, but please, please do whatever you can to stick to your routines like glue. All right. So you want to exercise enough, but not too much. We know that there's 2 things that suppress immunity when it comes to movement and exercise. Number 1, no exercise at all isn't good for our immune system, because the appropriate amount of exercise is going to support the immune system. And number 2, overtraining is going to crush the immune system. Overtraining is a massive issue that athletes have to deal with all the time. So we want to find that sweet spot on exercise. If you had a late night and you're super stressed, whatever the case may be, the next morning, even though you think you want to go to the gym, please take the morning off, move it to the next day. So I might be sounding like I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, but I'm not. I'm telling you to stick to your routines wherever you can. And on the days when you can't, do something restorative. Go out for a walk outside, which brings me to my next point. Get out and get some fresh air. I know it's darker earlier. I know that it's colder out for a lot of us, but get yourself outside, because fresh air is going to be a huge support for our immune system. And I'm going to talk about the air inside the house in a minute. This has to do with a podcast that I released, I believe it was in August, where we talk about the fact that indoor air is the most toxic air in many cases that we're exposed to, unless you live in a super polluted city, which most of us don't. Indoor air is going to be much more toxic to your system. So we want to get outside. Plus, we want to get access to the sun, to nature if we can. All of these things serve to balance our nervous systems and hence support immunity. All right. Last one is managing stress, which, as it turns out, getting sufficient sleep, getting outside, exercising, limiting alcohol, all of these things can be helpful in balancing our nervous system and helping our nervous system to be balanced. I'm going to give you a free tip here: breath work. A box breath where you inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. That alone for a couple of minutes will do wonders for balancing your immune system. Another way to balance your immune system, another type of breath work, is you inhale for 6 counts, you hold for 7 counts, and you exhale for 8. Just the fact that you're exhaling longer than you're inhaling is automatically going to send a signal to your nervous system to calm down. Stress, excess chronic stress is a killer. It drives inflammation, it drives cortisol up, and it ultimately can suppress immunity. There's a reason why we will often get really sick after a very stressful event. So we can't stop the stressful events, right? Life is full of them these days. But what we can do is manage our response to those stressful events. So the way we want to do that is, and again, like the exercise, the going outside, the sleep, all of these things help us to be more resilient to stressful events. But there's nothing like a nice little session of breath work that can help you to overcome a stressful situation. Now, if you're not good at breath work, there's actually a really cool little device called the Camuso. And it's, I don't know that I even have a link or a code for you guys. If I do, I'll put it in the show notes. But the Camuso is this beautiful piece of jewelry. It either hangs on a chain around your neck or they make it as a bracelet. Unfortunately, guys, this is a bit probably more appropriate for women, although they do make it in black. So actually for men, I'm being judgy now. I'm telling guys they shouldn't wear gold and silver. Guys, you can wear whatever color you want. All I'm saying is it's this really cool little device. It kind of looks like a whistle. And what you do is whenever you're feeling super stressed, you take that little whistle, you put it in your mouth and you breathe through it. And the objective is not to make a whistle, which means you have to really control your breath. It's a really cool device. It makes a beautiful gift. I'm sure they're going to have a Black Friday sale. So if you have someone on your list who is very, very stressed and who loves shiny things, this could be the perfect gift for them. And it's a great strategy. And I don't think they're wildly expensive. It's not cheap, but somewhere in the $120 to $150 mark. And the price might depend on the material that it's made out of, but it's a beautiful gift. It's a great device. It's a great gift to give yourself. And it's a nice way to bring breath work kind of into your everyday life. And it's even a nice way just to remind yourself to do breath work. Okay, so I'm going to get into some of the devices and some of the tech that's around and some of the supplements that I've come across over the last little while that I'm really been impressed with when it comes to supporting immunity. So I talked a little while ago about getting fresh air. I released a podcast episode at the end of August with a company called Jasper, JASPRCO, with the owner and the founder of the company, whose name is Mike Feldstein. Mike's an amazing guy. This is a guy who used to fight fires. And when he saw how crazily toxic though the smoke from the wildfires was, and the types of equipment that they were trying to get people to use, that was, number one, very expensive, very ugly, it just wasn't practical for people to use them. He set out to create a device that could be beautiful in people's homes and help to clean up the air in their homes. And they are having a crazy town Black Friday sale. They're knocking $400 off their Jasper device. And all you have to do is use code NAT. Okay, go to jasper.co at JASPR.co and use code NAT. You get $400 off. But in the episode that I released with him in August, we talk about how cleaning the air in your home, which is for the most part as toxic as the air gets because it's enclosed, you're cooking in there. Look, what happened to me a couple of weeks ago in my bathroom, in my ensuite bathroom, in my bedroom, we found, because there's a jacuzzi tub, I bought this house last year, haven't had time to kind of pull the jacuzzi tub out. I noticed on the jacuzzi tub that there's, it almost looked like a net. It was oozing black. And what was the black? It was mold. Now, imagine how horrified I was. We cleaned it out. Of course, we wore masks. We cleaned it all out. And I bought myself, and we ordered another Jasper for the bedroom because it's going to be a while before I can get that bathroom redone and get that tub torn out. Like, there's no doubt that there's no way I can get all the mold out, but there's now a Jasper unit outside that bathroom working 24/7 to clear the air. And Jasper's been shown to be very effective at clearing and capturing mold spores out of the air. So I highly recommend, if you're even thinking that, so many old homes just have mold as a going in position, Get one at least for your main living area, but the best place to put them really is in your bedroom because that's where you spend most of your time. So we now have one in our living room. We have one in our bedroom. I'm sure at some point I'm going to get another one for the basement, but these are great units. And I believe that Mike gives volume discounts on his website. But bottom line, if we can reduce the particulates in the air, if we can clean up the air in our environment, that is less stuff, right? Less pathogens, less junk that your body has to deal with, that your immune system needs to deal with, because of course your lungs are a point of entry. So definitely, if you don't have a good air filter in your house, consider investing in one, or if you have the ability to, 2 of these units. They will literally make a massive difference for your immune function all year long. Okay. That was the Jasper. What's the next one? I mentioned vitamin D3 at the beginning here. And the reason why is, of course, we know that vitamin D3 is associated with better immune response. The challenge is that when we supplement with D3, there's a fair amount of growing evidence that some people just, it doesn't work for them the same as if they're making their own vitamin D3, which puts those of us who live in northern climates at a real disadvantage. Let's face it. We can't go outside and expose our skin to the sun so that we can make vitamin D3 because number one, it's too cold, but more important, I mean, we could argue that it's cold exposure, but the real reason is the angle of the sun at this time of year where we are is not conducive to making vitamin D3. Enter the Mitolux. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm showing you what the Mitolux is. It's this beautiful, cool little panel. It's about the size of, I don't know, maybe a big iPad. It sits either in a stand or on your counter, and you only have to use it 5 minutes a day. And what it does is it kind of gives you a dose of sun in about 5 minutes. So it starts off, it kind of warms up the skin with red and infrared light. Then it flips over to UVB light, a very measured dose based on your skin type. So when you get this device, you get a whole booklet that talks about and helps you to assess what skin type you are. Based on your skin type, they're going to recommend a protocol for you for the exact amount of vitamin of UVB that you need to stimulate the production of UVB in your body. So I use this little baby every single day when I'm coming out of the shower. And so it delivers, I interrupted myself. It delivers the red and infrared first, then it delivers the UVB, and then it finishes off with the red infrared, kind of like how the sun would give it to you in nature. They will be having a Black Friday sale. I can't tell you exactly what it is right now, but I can tell you that it's going to be good. And it's definitely the kind of thing that you want to include on your list. The code and the link will be in the show notes. I don't have it right in front of me here, and I don't want to take a break to I just want to make sure I give you guys the information, right? So it's the Mitolux panel. It's the Better Than Sunshine Mitolux panel. It's totally amazing. You don't get skin damage. Now, one word of advice here is don't be thinking that more is better. I've had people who've overridden the safety checks and balances in this device. If you overdo the UVB, you will burn. I have never burnt because I've only used it in the prescribed amounts. I have a couple of people I know who thought, oh, well, if 5 minutes is good, surely 20 minutes is better. Bad idea. All right? Bad idea. So you want to use it as prescribed in the instructions. Okay, so that's the Mitolux for creating your own vitamin D3. And yeah, you know what? It costs some money, but think of all the money you'll save on supplements, and supplements that, quite frankly, often don't even work. They do not generate the right D3 for you. And for a lot of people, they just don't deliver. Okay. What's next on the supplement side? So I'm going to keep this list not too long because we both know that I could keep going on and on and on. But these are some of the newer players that I've come across over the last little while that I think are really worth mentioning. I've just recorded a podcast with one of my favorite supplement suppliers called Healthgevity. They actually typically don't sell direct to consumer. They typically sell direct to practitioners. So if you're a practitioner listening to this, this is a company you're going to want to reach out to because they have an array of supplements that is absolutely incredible. The founder of the company, Michael Antonelli, is relentless in going out and finding new novel ingredients that nobody else knows about, nobody else is using, and that they put together in these incredible stacks to make them more efficacious. Plus, he then works with his partner physicians who are now applying it clinically. Even though there's been research done on the ingredients prior, he then gets feedback from them to find out how it's panning out in clinical use. So really, really great company. And as we say in the podcast, which won't probably come out until December sometime, don't get too attached to any of the formulas because he's always improving them and tweaking them and bringing out new versions. So the two supplements from him that I'm going to mention right now are two brand new formulas. One is called Immuno Reboot, and Immuno Reboot is really centered around human lactoferrin. And lactoferrin is this very, very powerful compound that is natural to our bodies, but when it's being produced by a company, instead of being bovine lactoferrin that most lactoferrin companies provide, these guys are actually providing bioidentical human lactoferrin. And what lactoferrin brings to the table is it balances iron, which is very important when we're dealing with viruses and bacteria. It is antimicrobial, it is antiviral, it is antioxidant, and ultimately it provides immune support. And there's also a postbiotic in there that is a patented strain of lactic acid bacteria that actually stimulates multiple kinds of immune cells. Now, one thing I will say is if you have any kind of autoimmune issue, although this may be good for you, please speak to your practitioner before you start it, because sometimes people with imbalances in their immune system don't do as well with certain supplements as your average bear. So if you know that you have immune issues and you're working with a practitioner, please make sure that you speak with your practitioner who can look into the pathways and the method of action of this formula to make sure that it's going to be right for you. If you're not working with a practitioner and you're thinking, maybe that's me, then I would say instead of taking 2 a day, if you're even going to try this, start with 1 capsule. Start low and slow and see how your body responds. And that's going to be for any immune support formula. Okay. The other supplement formula that they just came out is a formula called Serenity. Now, Serenity is going to help us on the stress management side. And interestingly enough, as I talked about in a recent episode with Dan Cohen, Dr. Dan Cohen, who talks about the Soltec sleep device, stress is at the center of so many people's sleep issues. If we can't manage our stress, we can't get good sleep. Now, Serenity is an interesting formula because although it supports sleep, you can use it during the day to manage your stress levels. So it's a really, really interesting formula because it is not something that's going to put you to sleep. It is simply something that is going to help to calm your nervous system. And the active ingredients in here are a particular form of magnolia bark, which we know is powerful for the nerves, and it's called DHHB. And also there's a probiotic that helps with continuous GABA release through the day. GABA is our calming neurotransmitter. And so this is a beautiful formula. You can just pop one in the morning or in the afternoon or 2. You can try it before bed for sleep, but really the magic of this formula is helping to manage the nervous system, which in turn is going to help with our sleep. It's going to help with our stress. It's going to help with all the things. It might even help with your stress eating. Who knows? All right. So that's from Healthgevity. Your link and code there is healthgev.com. And the code is NAT10. Will save you 10% off your purchase. Okay. What else? So there's a couple of other sleep formulas that I wanted to talk to you about. And the 2 that I'm going to talk about right now are from BiOptimizers. We all love BiOptimizers. I certainly am a huge fan of their magnesium. I'm a massive fan of their digestive enzymes, which I think I talked about earlier in that other solo episode. The masszymes, especially at this time of year where we're eating all kinds of rich, heavy meals, we might be a little more stressed than usual. So I really love popping like 3 to 4, even sometimes 5, depending on the size of the meal, of masszymes with my meal to help with digestion. But what flies under the radar, because we spend so much time, so often we're talking about magnesium, which everybody's low in. So if you're not using their magnesium, you definitely want to do that because it'll also help with your sleep, amongst other things. But they also have phenomenal sleep formulas. They actually have 2. And a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, oh, there's a Berry Blast or a Tropical Dreams. They must be the same, just different flavors. Nuh-uh. The Berry Blast is really great for people looking for more deep sleep. They don't really have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, but they're looking for that deeper sleep. And then the Tropical formula is actually for extended sleep. So this is for people who have trouble staying asleep longer, or they wake up to go to the bathroom and then they can't fall back asleep. So these are 2 fantastic formulas. BiOptimizers, like any good supplement company, gives you, I think it's a 30 or 60 day money back guarantee. And especially with sleep formulas, you guys, like it's really hard to know what's going to work for who. So I encourage you to think about, and I also, by the way, I encourage you to think about these formulas because they are powders that you mix in water and have to drink. Make sure you drink them a solid half hour to 45 minutes before bed. Why? Because otherwise you're going to have to get up and go to the bathroom, right? So these are 2 great formulas. If you already know which one you think is best for you, go for that one. But if you're not sure which one you need, I encourage you to consider both. And they're going to have major Black Friday sales going on. I'm going to be pushing those out through my newsletter. I'm going to be posting on Instagram, doing all the things. But right now, if you just can't wait, go to BiOptimizers.com and use code longevity10, and that'll save you 10% off whatever purchase you make. Okay. What else? Troscriptions. Troscriptions has some really fantastic formulas. They have a newer one called Tromune, which is really simple. It's like the simplest formula I've ever seen. All it is cordyceps. Cordyceps is an extract from the cordyceps mushroom, and it is a superstar for immune support. So you can go to troscriptions.com and use code NAT10, and that'll save you 10% off that. And they, of course, also have Troz as a sleep formula, and it's also fantastic. It's Again, each little square is divided into 4. You can try 1 little square or 2 little square, like 1/4 or a half or 3/4. It's really about finding what is the sweet spot for you. Okay, so that's Troscriptions, troscriptions.com, NAT10. Now, what would be my podcast without mention of peptides? Really? Come on, Nat. You can't possibly not talk about any peptides in this. So I'm going to talk about a peptide. I'm going to talk about a bioregulator. Now, if you're the kind of person that really gets the willies from needles, then I'm going to direct you to Profound Health. The link is going to be in the show notes with the code. You can save yourself, I think it's 15% off. And I'm going to send you to Profound Health. And I would encourage you to think about buying both the pineal bioregulator and the thymus bioregulator. Do a 30-day run just to give yourself support. The cool thing about the pineal bioregulator is not only is it good for immune support, but it's also really great for circadian support. Now, it's not going to override your bad habits, guys. Like, it's just not going to. So if you're staying up too late, getting up too early, you're really fighting against it. The reason why I'm recommending it for now is really for its immune benefits, and I would partner it with the thymus bioregulator. So 2 bioregulators together. We often create stacks of bioregulators, right? If I was going to add a 3rd one to that, it would probably be the blood vessel bioregulator, especially if you're not used to doing these things and you've never done them before. You could do 2 capsules a day of each of these for 30 days. So that's the pineal gland bioregulator, the thymus gland bioregulator, and the blood vessel bioregulator. Now, and that's at Profound Health. So once again, the link is going to be in the show notes. Now, the heavy, heavy hitter, and the one that I always have in my freezer, just in case I might happen to get sick, is a bioregulator called Thymalin, Thymalin. The only place that I know of to get it is a company called Cosmic Nootropics. They're an online company. They're very, very fond of being paid in crypto. I've heard rumors lately that maybe they're starting to take a credit card, but even if you don't have a crypto wallet, there's step-by-step instructions on that website on how to pay using crypto. But Thymalin is the immune bioregulator that is actually the extract from thymus glands of animals that's been refined and purified and prepared as an injection. Now, the best way to inject this thing is intramuscular, so you may need to find a practitioner who will do that for you. Or definitely there are people who will use it subcutaneously, like yours truly over here. I don't do intramuscular ever for myself. It's just not my thing. But that's what I do. If you want to know what's in my freezer for emergencies, for when I feel like I'm really going down with something, that's what I use. So I just keep it there. It's my stash. And if it ever comes to pass that I feel like I'm going down from a big bad bug, that's the one I lean on, Thymalin. Now, you will find it if you're the kind of person that looks or shops around certain research labs or even, frankly, compounding pharmacies. 99% of the Thymalin out there is not Thymalin. It's actually Thymalin, which is a great product, but it's not Thymalin. So Cosmic Nootropics, you can use code longevity if you decide to go that route. If you buy it for future use, keep it in the freezer, and you will need to know how to reconstitute and the whole 9 yards. So if that's something that you struggle with, there's lots of videos I know on YouTube about it, or you can join my membership community where we talk about these kinds of things all the time. Okay, so that's my immune support. This is my immune support report for you for this time. And hopefully you found a couple of things in there that resonate for you. For the retreat that I just came back from, and the reason why I was away for 2 weeks instead of 1 week, I'm going to give you a little bit of a snapshot of what it was all about. And then I'm going to do a full episode on what we did, who was there, and why we did what we did. It was pretty epic. So this is the third time I've taken people to Sedona, to my good friend, Katrine Walensky. I recorded a podcast with her a couple of years ago. So if you're the kind of person that likes to go back a couple of years, I believe it was in the fall. Her name is Katrine Walensky. She has a crazy story. She is one of the most unbelievable practitioners I've seen around. She operates a concierge practice. She's not your run-of-the-mill, just she's the kind of person, if you told her tomorrow, oh, I've got a program, we'll bring you 30 new clients, she'd be like, yeah, no. She's very specific with who she works with and takes on very few clients at a time so that she can really devote her energies and her time to the people that she's working with. But in the meantime, she hosts these retreats, and 2 times a year, I will bring a group of people down to the retreat and we will do a week of amazing stuff. We go hiking in the mountains of Sedona, which is, if you've never been, look it up. It is one of the most magical places on the planet. We have access to things like EBOO, EBOO. This is where we're drawing our blood out of one arm. It's running through a machine. It's getting ozonated, which helps to clear pathogens, kill viruses and microbes. Then it is irradiated with light, and then it is filtered like a hard filter. And then it is reintroduced. That blood is reintroduced into the other arm. You sit on the machine for about an hour. They filter about 2 liters of your blood. And by the time I record the episode talking about this, I will get to tell you a little bit about my results were on microplastic load. So I was recently approached by a company who has developed a microplastic test. So this is a blood test that measures the microplastics in your blood. And we did before and after draws to see, does the EBU machine actually remove microplastics from the blood? So that's one of the things we do. We do customized IVs. For some people, that means NAD. For other people, it might mean cerebral lysin in NAD. For other people, it might mean other cocktails. So we do supportive IVs that are tailored to each individual. We have access to equipment like the Flowpresso for nervous system regulation. We have access to things like the Nano V, which is at the Eng3. This is structured water that helps with DNA repair in the body that we breathe while we're sitting and doing our IVs. She has a roster of next level body workers. I can't even begin to describe to you. Like, we're not just talking massage here. We're talking about ancient therapies from traditional Chinese medicine, where the therapist is going in and manipulating your organs, which sounds kind of gross, but is actually next level in terms of myofascial release, but also in terms of emotional regulation. And then she has a DO over there who I got to meet and work with, who does neurotherapy, and he will be on the podcast next year. So I'm going to keep him a little secret for now. And then finally, what was the other thing I wanted to tell you guys about at this event? V cells. So V cells are tiny little baby stem cells that are circulating in your blood that are not activated. We all have them. And so when I was there this time, I had my blood drawn and we isolated the V cells by spinning out the blood. And then we reintroduced it intravenously into my system. So this was a systemic V cell injection. And in addition to that, the idea of that, of course, is to help to rejuvenate the body systemically from the inside out. And then I had microneedling done on my face, and then we applied V cells there. And people have been telling me for the last week, oh my God, your skin is glowing. So must have done some good. And then while I was there, but there's more, I actually fell, and which brought attention to a knee that had been, kind of giving me some issues. Turns out there's some degeneration in that knee. So I may or may not have had some V cells injected into the joint as well, and into specific areas around the knee that had suffered from degeneration. So a week out, I can tell you my knee feels really great. But more to come on that, because it's definitely going to take a couple of months before I get the full effect of that treatment. And then week 2, I'm still talking. My God, this is going to be a long one. Week 2 was an opportunity delivered to me the night before I was supposed to leave, where I met Dr. James Hart, who is the founder and the guru of neurofeedback training at the BioCybernaut Institute. Now, you guys have probably heard of other places that do extended alpha brain training, and this alpha brain training, these 5 and 7 day programs, these are all based on Dr. James Hart's work at the BioCybernaut Institute. There's a BioCybernaut Institute in Sedona, and there's another one in Germany. And I don't know if there's still one in Canada on the West Coast, but there used to be. Anyway, Dr. James Hart himself was running a training, and I was offered the opportunity to do alpha brain training for 7 days. And that is going to take a whole other episode on its own, because I can tell you that alpha brain training is next level. It's very deep. It is all based on forgiveness work, and it is all based on inner work. So not like you're going to spend 20, I don't know how long writing I forgive you letters to 1 million people when you come out of there. This is the inner work. This is the work that we do on ourselves to help us to overcome and to release any of those negative experiences and traumas, all that programming that sits in our subconscious that is often influencing how we're able to behave and operate. Frankly, it can even influence our health, right? So we sit and do this work while we're listening to our brainwaves, telling you guys next level. So I'll tell you more about that at another time because we're running a little long here for a solo episode, but I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek into some of the things that are coming down the pipes. And most importantly, I wanted to give you insight, or I wanted to give you some tips on how to support your immune system as we're going into this holiday season, because, you know, it's, like I said, it's the most wonderful time of the year, but it really, 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 really sucks when we get sick. So we definitely want to do everything we can to support our immune system. Notice we're not boosting our immune system. We're supporting it so that we can enjoy our time with family, with friends, with loved ones, with whoever it is that you're going to choose to spend your time with this holiday season. And in there, there's probably a couple of ideas for gifts that you might give to people in your life, or maybe gift yourself. All right. That's it. That's all. Thank you so much for listening. I so appreciate you guys. Hope you're still with me. If you have not already done so, please make sure that you sign up for my newsletter. It's at natnidham.com. It's my website, which, by the way, big things on the horizon for the website. It's under a huge redesign. It's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be another month or two before we really get it, but stay tuned for that. But definitely, if you go to the current natnidham.com, you can go, you'll see at the top of the page, there's a little red banner that says sign up for the newsletter. Definitely sign up for the newsletter. And these days, if you're not already getting the newsletter, you're going to get a 7-part series on all the lifestyle, many of the lifestyle strategies that I will teach my clients whenever we start working together. So thanks again for being here. Totally appreciate you guys. If you got value from this episode, make sure you send it out and share it to your friends and whoever else you think would get value. And if you have a moment and you're feeling inspired, please make sure to leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. Thanks again, and have a spectacular holiday season.